Listen to me very carefully because what I'm about to tell you is going to make you angry. It's going to make you uncomfortable. But if you stick with me, if you actually listen to what I have to say, this could be the most important conversation about money you've ever had in your entire life. I'm Kevin O'Leary, and I've made millions, lost millions, and made it all back again. I've sat across the table from thousands of entrepreneurs. I've invested in hundreds of businesses. And you know what I've learned? The reason most people stay poor has nothing to do with the economy. It has nothing to do with their education. It has nothing to do with where they were born or who their parents were. The reason most people stay poor is because they believe a lie, a massive, destructive lie that has been hammered into their brains since they were children. And the worst part, the people who taught them this lie actually believed they were helping. They thought they were giving good advice. Before I tell you what this lie is, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that subscribe button, smash it. Because I'm going to tell you the truth about money, and the truth isn't always popular. The truth doesn't always make you feel good. But the truth is what separates the wealthy from the broke. So subscribe, become a member of this channel, and let's build something together. Now let's get to it. Here's the lie. Are you ready? The lie is this: work hard and you'll get rich. That's it. That's the fairy tale that's keeping you poor. Now, before you start yelling at your screen, before you tell me that hard work is important, let me be crystal clear. I'm not saying hard work doesn't matter. Of course it matters, but hard work alone will never make you wealthy. Never. You know who works hard? The single mother working 2 jobs to feed her kids. You know who else works hard? The construction worker putting in 60 hours a week in the summer heat. You know who else works hard? The nurse doing double shifts at the hospital. These people work harder than most CEOs I know. They work harder than most millionaires I know, and yet they're barely making ends meet. Why? Because hard work without smart work is just exhaustion. Let me tell you something I learned a long time ago. Nobody gets rich trading time for money. Nobody. If you're getting paid by the hour, you've already lost. If your income stops the moment you stop working, you're not building wealth. You're just surviving. And survival is not a strategy. I see people every single day on Shark Tank who come in and tell me how hard they've been working. They tell me about the 18-hour days, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices. And you know what I tell them? I don't care. I don't care how hard you work. I care about results. I care about profit. I care about whether your business makes money while you sleep. The wealthy understand something that the poor don't. Money is a tool. It's not a reward for hard work. It's a tool that you use to make more money. The moment you understand that, the moment you stop thinking about trading your time for dollars and start thinking about making your dollars work for you, that's when everything changes. Let me give you an example. 2 people start working at the same time. Person A works hard, really hard. They get promoted, they get raises, they're the first one in the office and the last one to leave. After 30 years, they retire with a decent pension and some savings. Person B also works hard, but Person B does something different. Every single month, Person B takes 10% of their paycheck and invests it. They buy dividend-paying stocks, they invest in index funds, they put their money to work. After 30 years, Person A has their salary and maybe a few $100,000 in savings. Person B has millions. Why? Because Person B understood that hard work gets you a paycheck, but smart investing gets you wealth. Person B's money was working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, even while they were sleeping, even while they were on vacation. This is what nobody tells you when you're young. They tell you to get good grades, go to college, get a job, work hard, and save money. That's the advice everyone gives. And it's terrible advice. It's advice that keeps you trapped in the rat race forever. You want to know what rich people do? Rich people make their money work for them. They don't work for money. They own assets. They own businesses. They own real estate. They own stocks. They own things that generate income without them having to show up every single day and trade their time. I'm going to tell you something that might shock you. I don't work hard anymore. I haven't worked hard in years. I work smart. I own pieces of dozens of companies. Those companies are making money right now while I'm talking to you. They'll make money tonight while I'm sleeping. They'll make money next week when I'm on vacation. That's the difference. The broke mentality says, I need to work harder to make more money. The wealthy mentality says, I need to make my money work harder so I don't have to. Do you see the difference? It's not about effort. It's about leverage. It's about multiplication. It's about creating systems that generate wealth without consuming your time. And here's the really painful truth that nobody wants to hear. If you're broke right now, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, it's probably because you've been following bad advice your entire life. You've been lied to by well-meaning people who themselves never figured out how money works. Your parents told you to get a stable job with benefits. Your teachers told you that education was the key to success. Your guidance counselor told you to pick a safe career. And all of that advice, all of it, was designed to make you a good employee, not a wealthy person. There's a massive difference. The education system doesn't teach you about money. It doesn't teach you about investing. It doesn't teach you about building wealth. It teaches you how to be a good worker, how to show up on time, how to follow instructions, how to trade your time for a paycheck. That's not financial education. That's employee training. I'm not saying education is worthless. I'm saying the education most people get is designed to keep them working for someone else for the rest of their lives. And that's exactly what happens. They graduate, they get a job, they work for 40 years, and then they retire broke or barely getting by. You want to know why the rich keep getting richer? Because they understand the game. They understand that wealth isn't built by working more hours. It's built by owning things, by investing, by creating multiple streams of income that flow whether they're working or not. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but Kevin, I don't have money to invest. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I can't afford to buy stocks or real estate. And that's exactly the mentality that keeps you trapped. Because if you don't have money to invest, that means you have a spending problem, not an income problem. Let me be very clear about something. Almost everyone can find 10% of their income to invest. Almost everyone. But they don't, because they've been taught to spend everything they make. They've been taught that they deserve to treat themselves, that they've earned it, that they should enjoy their money now. That's consumer thinking. That's broke thinking. Wealthy people delay gratification. They sacrifice today so they can live like kings tomorrow. Poor people sacrifice tomorrow so they can feel good today, and that's why they stay poor. The biggest money myth that keeps you poor is believing that working hard is enough. It's not. It never was. You need to work smart, you need to invest, you need to build assets, you need to make your money multiply while you sleep. Anything less than that and you're just running on a hamster wheel, working harder and harder but never actually getting anywhere. This is just the beginning of what you need to understand about money. In the next part, I'm going to break down exactly how the wealthy build their empires and why the middle class is designed to keep you trapped. If you want to escape the trap, you need to hear what comes next. Now let's talk about something that's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. Let's talk about why the system is designed to keep you poor. I'm not talking about some conspiracy theory. I'm talking about cold, hard economic reality. The way our economy is structured, the way you've been taught to think about money, it's all designed to benefit one group of people, the wealthy. And if you're not in that group, you're working for them whether you realize it or not. Think about it. From the moment you're born, you're being prepared to be a consumer and an employee. You go to school, you learn to follow rules, you learn to show up on time, you learn to do what you're told. Then you graduate, and what happens? You get a job, you start earning money, and immediately everyone tells you what to do with that money. Buy a car, get a nice apartment, treat yourself. You've earned it. So what do? You spend everything you make, or worse, you spend more than you make. You get a credit card, you finance the car, you take out loans, and suddenly you're trapped. You're working to pay off debt. You're working to pay your bills. You're working to maintain a lifestyle that you can't actually afford. And every single month, you're further behind than you were the month before. This is what I call the consumption trap. And it's brilliant, really. It's brilliant because it keeps you working forever. You can never stop. You can never take a risk. You can never quit your job to start a business because you've got bills to pay. You've got debt to service. You've got a lifestyle to maintain. You're trapped and you don't even realize it. Meanwhile, what are the wealthy doing? They're doing the exact opposite. They're not consumers. They're owners. They own the businesses you work for. They own the credit card companies charging you interest. They own the apartment buildings you're renting. They own the car dealerships you're financing through. Every single dollar you spend is going into their pockets. You're making them rich while you stay poor. And here's the really twisted part. The system needs you to stay in this trap. It needs you to keep consuming. It needs you to keep working. Because if everyone suddenly woke up and said, I'm not going to buy things I can't afford, I'm not going to work a job I hate just to pay off debt, I'm going to start investing and building wealth, the whole system would collapse. Let me explain how the wealthy actually build their empires, because this is what they don't teach you in school. Wealthy people use something called leverage, not just financial leverage, although that's part of it. I'm talking about every kind of leverage. They leverage other people's time, they leverage other people's money, they leverage other people's expertise, they multiply their efforts by using resources that aren't their own. Here's an example. When I invest in a company on Shark Tank, I'm not just giving them money, I'm buying a piece of their business, I'm buying a piece of their time, their effort, their ideas. They're going to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week building that business, and I'm going to make money from their work. That's leverage. I'm using their time to create wealth for myself. Now, some people hear that and they think it sounds unfair, they think it sounds exploitative, but here's what they don't understand. It's a partnership. The entrepreneur gets my money, my expertise, my connections, my network. I get a piece of their business. We both win. But the key is I'm multiplying my wealth by owning pieces of multiple businesses. I'm not trading my time for money. I'm using my money to buy time and effort from other people. This is what wealthy people do. They buy assets that generate income. They don't save money in a bank account earning 0.5% interest. They invest in things that produce cash flow, real estate that generates rental income, businesses that produce profit, dividend stocks that pay them quarterly, royalties from intellectual property. Every single one of these things is working for them, making them money while they sleep. Let me tell you about the power of compound interest, because this is something that will change your life if you actually understand it. Albert Einstein supposedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. And he was right. Compound interest is the difference between being middle class and being wealthy. Here's how it works. Let's say you invest $10,000 at a 10% annual return. After 1 year, you have $11,000. But in year 2, you're not just earning 10% on your original $10,000. You're earning 10% on $11,000. Your money is making money. And then that money makes money. And it compounds year after year, decade after decade. If you invest $10,000 at 10% annual returns and you never add another penny, in 30 years you'll have over $174,000. But here's where it gets interesting. If you invest $10,000 and then add just $500 every single month for 30 years at the same 10% return, you'll have over $1 million. $1 million. Not from working harder, not from getting a better job, from investing consistently and letting compound interest do the heavy lifting. But most people never do this. You know why? Because they're too busy spending money on things that lose value. They buy a new car that depreciates the moment they drive it off the lot. They buy clothes they'll wear a few times. They buy gadgets and toys and entertainment. They're spending money on liabilities instead of investing in assets. Let me define those terms for you because this is crucial. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket. A rental property that generates cash flow is an asset. The house you live in is a liability because it costs you money every month in mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance. A business that generates profit is an asset. A car is a liability because it costs you money in payments, insurance, gas, repairs. Wealthy people spend their money on assets. Poor people spend their money on liabilities. It's that simple. And the reason poor people do this is because they don't understand the difference. They think their house is an asset because it might go up in value. They think their car is an asset because they need it. But that's not how assets work. If it's not putting money in your pocket every single month, it's not an asset. Now, here's where I'm going to lose some of you. Here's where people start to get defensive. I'm going to tell you that most of your financial problems are your own fault, not the economy's fault, not your boss's fault, not the government's fault, yours. I know that's hard to hear. I know you want to blame external factors. But the truth is, you make choices every single day about how to spend your money, and those choices determine whether you build wealth or stay broke. You choose to buy the expensive coffee every morning instead of making it at home. You choose to finance a car you can't afford instead of buying a used one with cash. You choose to carry credit card debt instead of living below your means. Every single one of those choices is keeping you poor. The difference between wealthy people and broke people isn't luck. It's not privilege. It's not unfairness, it's choices. Wealthy people make different choices. They sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term wealth. They delay gratification. They invest instead of spend. They think in decades, not days. I've met people who make $50,000 a year and have built significant wealth. I've met people who make $500,000 a year and are broke. The difference isn't the income, it's the mindset, it's the behavior, it's the choices they make every single day about what to do with their money. Here's another truth that nobody wants to acknowledge. You don't need a lot of money to start building wealth. You need discipline. You need consistency. You need to stop making excuses and start making different choices. Can you find $50 a month to invest? Can you find $100? Because if you can, and you invest it consistently for 30 years, you'll retire a millionaire. But most people won't do it because $50 a month doesn't feel significant. They'd rather spend it on something that gives them instant gratification. This is the trap. This is why the middle class stays middle class and why the poor stay poor. They're focused on today. They're focused on feeling good right now. Meanwhile, the wealthy are focused on 30 years from now. They're planting seeds today that will grow into forests tomorrow. Let me tell you something else that's going to upset people. Your comfort zone is destroying your financial future. You stay at a job you hate because it's safe. You don't start a business because it's risky. You don't invest in stocks because you're afraid of losing money. You don't negotiate your salary because you don't want to rock the boat. And all of that fear, all of that desire for comfort and safety is costing you millions of dollars over your lifetime. Wealthy people are comfortable with discomfort. They take calculated risks. They invest in things they don't fully understand, and then they learn. They start businesses that might fail. They have difficult conversations about money. They put themselves in uncomfortable situations because they know that's where growth happens. That's where wealth is built. If you're sitting there right now thinking, but Kevin, I can't do that. I have responsibilities. I have bills. I have people depending on me. Then you've already lost, because that's exactly the mentality that keeps you trapped. Wealthy people have the same responsibilities. They have bills. They have families. But they don't use those things as excuses. They use them as motivation to build something bigger. Now, we're getting to the heart of the matter. We're getting to the uncomfortable truth about why you're not wealthy yet. And in the next part, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to do starting today to break free from this trap. I'm going to give you a blueprint, a step-by-step plan that anyone can follow. But it's going to require you to make hard choices. It's going to require you to do things differently than you've been doing them. If you're ready to hear it, stay with me. All right, we've talked about the problem. We've talked about why you're stuck. Now let's talk about the solution. Let's talk about exactly what you need to do starting today to build real wealth. And I'm warning you right now, you're not going to like all of it. Some of this is going to hurt. Some of this is going to require you to make sacrifices that you don't want to make. But if you actually do what I'm about to tell you, your life will be completely different 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So pay attention. Step one, and this is non-negotiable, you need to stop spending money on garbage. I'm talking about the daily coffee, the streaming services you barely use, the clothes you don't need, the restaurants, the bars, the entertainment, all of it. Look at your bank statement from last month and highlight every single purchase that wasn't absolutely necessary for survival. I guarantee you'll find hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands, that you wasted on things that gave you 5 minutes of pleasure and nothing else. Now, here's what you're going to do with that money. You're going to pay yourself first. This is a concept that wealthy people understand and broke people don't. Every single time you get paid, before you pay any bills, before you buy anything, you take 10% of that money and you invest it. 10% minimum. If you can do 15%, do 15. If you can do 20, even better. But 10% is the absolute minimum. I don't care if you're making $30,000 a year or $300,000 a year. 10% goes to investments before anything else. This is how you build wealth. This is how you escape the trap. You pay yourself first and you make that money start working for you instead of working for someone else. Now, where do you invest it? Let me make this very simple for you because people overcomplicate this. If you're just starting out, if you don't know anything about investing, you put it in a low-cost index fund. Something that tracks the overall market. You're not trying to pick individual stocks. You're not trying to time the market. You're not trying to get rich quick. You're building wealth slowly and steadily over decades. An index fund gives you diversification. It gives you exposure to hundreds or thousands of companies. And historically, the stock market returns about 10% per year on average over long periods of time. Some years it's up 20%. Some years it's down 10%, but over 30 years it averages out to around 10%. And with compound interest doing its magic, that 10% turns into life-changing wealth. But here's the catch. You have to leave it alone. You can't panic when the market drops. You can't pull your money out when things get scary. You have to stay disciplined and keep investing month after month, year after year, regardless of what's happening in the news or the economy. This is what separates wealthy people from everyone else. They have discipline, they have patience, they think long term. Step 2, you need to eliminate debt. Not all debt, because some debt can be useful, but consumer debt, credit card debt, car loans, personal loans, any debt that's charging you high interest on things that are losing value. This debt is an emergency. It's a financial fire that's burning your wealth before you can even build it. Here's what you do. You list out all your debts from smallest to largest, then you attack the smallest one first with every extra dollar you have while making minimum payments on the others. Once that smallest debt is gone, you take that payment and add it to the next smallest debt. This is called the debt snowball, and it works because it gives you psychological wins. You see progress, you feel momentum, and that momentum keeps you going until all your consumer debt is gone. Now, I know some people are going to say, but Kevin, shouldn't I pay off the highest interest debt first? Mathematically, yes, but psychology matters more than math when it comes to money. If you try to pay off a $20,000 credit card first, you're going to get discouraged and quit. But if you knock out 3 small debts in the first few months, you're going to feel like a champion and keep going. So do the snowball, get the wins, build the momentum. Once your consumer debt is gone, you're going to feel something you probably haven't felt in years. Freedom. You're going to have breathing room. You're going to have options. And now you can really start building wealth because you're not sending half your paycheck to credit card companies anymore. Step 3, you need to increase your income. Notice I didn't say this first, because most people think that making more money will solve their problems. It won't. If you have bad money habits, making more money just means you'll waste more money. That's why lottery winners go broke. That's why athletes and celebrities file for bankruptcy. More income without better habits equals more problems. But once you've fixed your spending, once you're investing consistently, once you've eliminated your debt, now it's time to focus on earning more. And there are really only 2 ways to do this. You either get better at what you do so you're worth more to your employer, or you start a side business. Let's talk about the job first. When was the last time you asked for a raise? When was the last time you learned a new skill that made you more valuable? When was the last time you went above and beyond what was expected of you? Most people do the bare minimum at their job and then wonder why they don't get promoted. They show up, they do their work, they go home. That's not how you get ahead. If you want to make more money at your job, you need to make yourself indispensable. You need to be the person who solves problems, who takes initiative, who makes your boss's life easier. And then once you've proven your value, you need to ask for what you're worth. Most people are underpaid simply because they never negotiate. They accept whatever they're offered and then complain about it. Stop complaining and start negotiating. But here's the real secret to building wealth. You need to own something. You need to have a side business, a side hustle, something that generates income outside of your job, because your job will never make you rich. Your job will never give you freedom. Your job is trading time for money, and there are only so many hours in a day. A side business, even a small one, changes everything. It could be freelancing in your area of expertise. It could be buying and selling items online. It could be creating content, offering services, building products. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it has the potential to grow beyond just your time, as long as it can eventually make money while you're not actively working on it. And here's the beautiful thing about starting a side business today. You can start with almost nothing. You don't need a storefront. You don't need employees. You don't need a lot of capital. You need a computer, an internet connection, and a willingness to work evenings and weekends while everyone else is watching television. That's it. That's the barrier to entry. I started my first business in my basement. I worked my day job and then I worked on my business at night. I sacrificed social time. I sacrificed entertainment. I sacrificed comfort. And it sucked. It was hard. But you know what? That business eventually made me my first $1 million. And it happened because I was willing to do what other people weren't willing to do. Step 4, you need to protect your wealth. Once you start building it, you need to make sure you don't lose it. That means having an emergency fund. That means having insurance. That means not doing stupid things with your money once you have some. Your emergency fund should be 3 to 6 months of expenses in a savings account that you never touch unless there's a real emergency. Not an I want a new television emergency, a real emergency like you lost your job or you have a medical crisis. This fund is your safety net. It's what keeps you from going back into debt when life throws you a curveball. And you need insurance. Health insurance, obviously, but also disability insurance if you're young and healthy. Because if you can't work, if you get injured or sick, your income stops and your bills don't. Disability insurance protects your most valuable asset, which is your ability to earn income. Most people don't think about this until it's too late. Step 5, and this is the one that separates the wealthy from everyone else. You need to think like an owner, not an employee. You need to start looking for opportunities to invest in assets that generate cash flow, real estate that produces rental income, businesses that you can buy a piece of, dividend stocks that pay you quarterly, anything that puts money in your pocket without requiring your active time. This is how the wealthy think. They're always asking, how can I make my money work harder? How can I buy something today that will pay me tomorrow? How can I create passive income streams so that eventually I don't have to work at all unless I want to? Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Kevin, I don't have enough money to buy real estate or invest in businesses. And you're right, not yet. But that's why you're doing steps 1 through 4. You're building your capital. You're eliminating debt. You're increasing income. You're protecting what you have. And eventually you'll have enough to start making bigger moves. Wealth building is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes discipline. But the alternative is working until you're 70 and hoping Social Security doesn't run out. The alternative is staying trapped in the rat race forever. The alternative is watching wealthy people live the life you wish you had while you keep telling yourself it's not fair. Here's the truth. It is fair. Because those wealthy people, most of them anyway, they did exactly what I'm telling you to do. They made sacrifices. They delayed gratification. They invested consistently. They took risks. They thought long term. And now they're reaping the rewards while everyone else is complaining about how unfair it is. You have a choice to make right now. You can keep doing what you've been doing and keep getting the same results. Or you can make a change. You can decide today that you're done being broke. You're done living paycheck to paycheck. You're done working for someone else's dream while your own dreams collect dust. I'm telling you, the path to wealth is right in front of you. It's not hidden. It's not secret. It's just hard. It requires discipline that most people don't have. It requires sacrifices that most people won't make. It requires thinking differently than everyone around you. But if you're willing to do it, if you're willing to follow this blueprint, your life will transform. 5 years from now, you could have a 6-figure investment portfolio. 10 years from now, you could be financially independent. 20 years from now, you could be wealthy beyond what you currently think is possible. Or you could still be broke, still making excuses, still blaming everyone else for your situation. The choice is yours. Now, if you found value in this video, if you're ready to start taking control of your financial future, I need you to do something for me. Smash that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel. Become a member, because I'm going to keep telling you the truth about money, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it challenges everything you've been taught. Leave a comment below and tell me, what's the first step you're going to take today to start building wealth? Are you going to cut your spending? Are you going to start investing? Are you going to eliminate debt? Whatever it is, commit to it publicly. Write it down. Because when you declare your intentions, you're far more likely to follow through. This channel is about truth. It's about giving you the real information you need to succeed financially. And we can only grow this community with your help. So subscribe, become a member, and let's build wealth together. Thank you for watching. Now go out there and stop being poor.